If you have acid reflux, heartburn, you've probably been told you have too much acid. You take over the counter antacids or have prescriptions. And they do help at first. But have you noticed symptoms return and sometimes getting worse? What could be happening is that you may not have too much acid, you may have too little. I know that kind of sounds backward, but let me talk a little bit about this paradox. Why little acid may feel exactly like too much acid, and why treating it the other way around may be making things worse. I'm Dr. Yasmin, a functional medicine practitioner with focus on gut health. And this video might be interesting for you if you are struggling with such symptoms. Let's dive right in. But I'll start from the very basics. Talking why we have acid, why we should have low acid, and what happens when we treat it the wrong way. First of all, our bodies produce hydrochloric acid for a reason. It has an important job of breaking down proteins. Without enough acid, protein may just sit in the stomach. Acid activates digestive enzymes like pepsin. Then it kills bacteria and pathogens, being the first line of defense against foodborne illnesses. And an important part is this very acid signals the lower esophageal sphincter, the valve between our food pipe and the stomach, to stay closed. This is the key. And here is the paradox. When we have enough acid, the pressure signals the valve to close tight. Nothing comes back up. But when we have low acid, the same very valve won't get the signal to close properly. It stays loose, slightly open. So even the small amount of acid that we do have can splash back up into the food pipe. And that is exactly what feels like burning. We feel it like reflux, and we may think we have too much acid. But the real problem is too little acid because the valve is not shutting down. This is the stomach acid paradox. Make sense? Low acid creates the exact same symptoms as high acids. But the question is, why should people have low stomach acid in the first place? Here are a bunch of reasons. One, chronic stress. When we are stressed, the body doesn't produce stomach acid properly because we are not to digest in survival mode, right? So if we are dealing with chronic stress overload, our stomach acid stays suppressed. Secondly, aging. As we age, our stomach's capacity to produce natural acid reduces. We may be producing 70% less acid at age 60 than we did at age 20. Then, silent H. pylori infection, which is very common. This is a pathogen, and one of its effects is to suppress the acid production. And we may not even know that we have it. Then, if our body has a bunch of nutrient deficiencies like zinc, B vitamins, chloride, acid production would be suboptimal. And then self-induced triggers. If we are taking antacids on top of all of this, of course our body won't produce acid. Short term, it might make us heartburn better, but the long term, the problem is getting worse. So what is happening? We are suppressing the little acid that we have. The valve is getting looser and looser. The protein won't digest. Bacteria will overgrow into the intestines. And because we haven't addressed the root cause. So a cascade of health issues emerges then. Without acid, protein maldigestion. Large undigested protein particles going down into the intestines, leading to trigger of inflammation and food sensitivity. Inability to absorb the same very nutrients for which acid is needed. Vitamin B12, iron, calcium, magnesium. So, what may be happening? Anemia, osteoporosis, fatigue, immune dysfunction. And then, as our first line of defense is poor, the acid is low, bacterial overgrowth. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, the fancy term. You may or may not be familiar. What is happening? Manifesting as bloating, gas, diarrhea, malabsorption. And then there is generalized infection risk. We get more susceptible to food poisoning, parasites, and gut infection simply because first line of defense is compromised. And not only that, reflex is worsening, the very thing that we were trying to address. So it's like a vicious circle in which we get trapped. We are taking more antacids, we are magnifying the problem, the valve is keeping more open, the cycle is worsening. So this is why to address the root cause becomes so critical. It's not just the reflux, it's about the entire system and the nutrient status. So how do we know if we have low acid or high acid? Signs of low acid. Number one, we will have reflux, especially after meals, especially if antacids only help temporarily. We feel quickly food sitting in the stomach, that heavy bloated feeling that lasts for hours after eating, burping or belching frequently, especially the burps that taste like the food we ate. Nausea after taking supplements, especially vitamins on empty stomach, as we are not digesting anything properly. Seeing undigested food in the particles. If we can see recognizable food in the stools, it means we are not digesting. Chronic anemia, despite taking iron rich foods. And then brittle nails, thinning hair, weak immune system, all due to nutrient malabsorption from low stomach acid. So, what do you do if you have low acid? Work with a functional medicine practitioner. Don't just start taking acid supplements without guidance, they do have effects. Then address the root cause, why the acid became low. And the root cause could be different for everybody. It could be stress, it could be H. pylorus, it could be nutrient deficiency. Then support the acid production naturally first. Try eating in a relaxed state. Chew the food thoroughly. Add bitter foods before meals like arugula, lemon. Consider digestive bitters. Replace the nutrients if you are deficient. Proper stress management. And then, if appropriate, consider supplementation under supervision. Start slow, increase gradually, and work with a knowledgeable practitioner. If you are on acid blocking meds for a long time, you may need to work with your own doctor to see what are the options. The stomach acid paradox is one of the most misunderstood issues in digestive health. If you have been treating high acid when you actually have low acid, you may now understand why nothing works. There is a better way. And it starts with understanding what is really happening in the body. If you find this helpful, keep exploring for more resources. And I did put a link below for more resources as well as ebook. I hope you find it interesting and I welcome to the next video.